Imagine this, a massive city, millions of people, a bright afternoon sky, and suddenly the entire streets come to a standstill. Not because of a disaster, not because of riots, but because of one name echoing everywhere, printed on the shirts of millions, plastered on giant posters, and spoken even by government officials. That name? Jungkook. Yeah, you heard that right. In the heart of Mexico City, a country with an incredibly strong culture, music, and identity of its own, a young man in his 20s from South Korea managed to steal the entire spotlight. Not just from fans, but from the country's president, from cabinet ministers, from Google Trends, from international media across the globe. And today we're going to break it all down. What exactly happened in Mexico? Why is Jungkook this popular? And what makes this moment different from everything we've ever seen before? Stay with me, because this isn't just a story about a K-pop idol going viral. This is a story about the power of one human being transcending language, culture, and continents. It all started in early May 2026. BTS finally returned to Mexico, a country they had been away from for 9 long years. And this time, they weren't just coming for an ordinary concert. They arrived carrying their endearing world tour, a massive celebration following their highly anticipated comeback. Billboard, 3 consecutive nights at GNP Seguros Stadium, all sold out. A total of more than 136,000 fans attended in person to witness their idols. A staggering number, even by the standards of any world-class artist. Sportskita. But the most shocking thing wasn't the concerts themselves. What first shook the world happened before the first stage even lit up. Because before the singing, before the spotlights, before thousands of light sticks illuminated the stadium, BTS was invited to a very specific place. A place not just anyone can walk into. A place where the history of an entire nation is written every single day. The National Palace of Mexico. Yes, the Bangtan Boys, 7 young men from Korea, were invited to meet personally with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. And from that moment on, all the madness began. May 6, 2026. The National Palace in the heart of Mexico City. BTS met directly with President Claudia Sheinbaum at the National Palace, Mexico City. And when they stepped out onto the balcony of the palace, the view from below took everyone's breath away. Star News Korea. More than 50,000 people flooded the streets surrounding the National Palace. The atmosphere turned electric, filled with screaming, singing, and a sea of army who had traveled from every corner of Mexico, and even from abroad, for one single purpose, to see BTS up close. One India. Picture that scale. 50,000 souls, standing in the middle of a city, under the blazing sun, waiting for 7 men to step out onto a balcony. That wasn't a concert. That wasn't a festival. That was a diplomatic visit that turned into a historic event. And among the 7 people standing on that legendary balcony, there was one who immediately drew a different kind of attention. Jungkook. But not because he shouted the loudest, not because he wore the most extravagant outfit. It was actually the opposite, because of one small decision that seemed trivial on the surface, but ended up making the entire internet explode. Okay, we need to talk about fashion for a second. When BTS appeared at Mexico's National Palace in perfectly tailored luxury suits, fans were ready to be blown away by pure elegance. What they did not expect was Jungkook completely changing the entire vibe with one tiny styling decision. Daily Hunt. Every BTS member showed up in a full formal suit. RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, all polished, coordinated, looking every bit the cultural ambassadors they truly are. But Jungkook quietly removed his blazer. Instead of the complete formal suit like the rest, he appeared only in his shirt and trousers, creating a softer, more relaxed silhouette that unexpectedly drew more attention than anyone else standing beside him. Daily Hunt. And this is what's extraordinary about Jungkook. He doesn't need to try hard to become the center of attention. In fact, when everyone else was dressed to the nines, his choice to dial things back made all eyes gravitate toward him naturally. Many celebrities rely on dramatic styling to grab attention, but Jungkook did the complete opposite. By removing layers instead of adding more, his appearance felt lighter, more wearable, and unexpectedly authentic. Daily Hunt, fashion media, gossip accounts, regular fans, even people who had never heard of BTS. Everyone was asking the same thing: why does the guy who took off his jacket look like the coolest one up there? But hold on, that's not even the best part. Because there's another moment from that National Palace visit that was far funnier, far more viral, and far more quintessentially Jungkook. Here's how it went down. On the balcony of the National Palace, after BTS had waved to the ocean of fans below, the organizers set up a standing microphone, a podium mic, so the members could address the public. A very formal moment, very official, witnessed by tens of thousands in person and millions more watching the live broadcast. And Jungkook, the moment he spotted that standing microphone, he immediately ran in the opposite direction toward the corner of the balcony, rushed over to find RM to quietly alert him about the mic, and in the process did everything he could to avoid having to speak in public himself. Music Mundial, the golden magne, then tucked himself behind Suga and Jimin, and according to fans watching the scene, he even looked ready to sacrifice the other members if RM happened to start looking for someone else to speak. Music Mundial, the internet absolutely lost it. Not with anger, not with criticism, but with uncontrollable laughter and an outpouring of pure love. The moment went viral across every platform instantly, and fans began digging up old videos of Jungkook fleeing from microphones at various award shows and events over the years, cementing this quirk as one of his most iconic and beloved traits. Music Mundial, because that's exactly what Jungkook is. Behind all the greatness, the talent, and the extraordinary charisma, there's a side of him that is innocent, natural, and deeply human. And that's the side that makes people fall in love with him over and over again. And as it turns out, Mexico fell for it too. Now let's talk numbers. And these numbers are nothing short of jaw-dropping. On Google, the world's largest search engine, Jungkook, South Korean singer and songwriter, shot up to the #1 spot in the related topics category for the Mexico keyword. In top queries, Jungkook ranked at positions 2, 3, 6, and 10, right behind BTS, who held the #1 spot. And in rising queries, Jungkook recorded positions 3, 4, 7, and 9, following only the Mexican president at #1 and BTS at #2. Star News Korea. Let that sink in for a moment. On Google Trends for a country of more than 130 million people, a Korean idol dominated the search rankings more than nearly every other topic combined. Politicians, local artists, breaking news, all pushed aside by one name. Even Marcelo Ebrard, Mexico's Minister of Economy, posted a video of Jungkook on the balcony to his own Instagram stories. Star News Korea, a government minister, a cabinet official, posting K-pop idol content on his Instagram. This doesn't happen by accident. This is not something any PR team in the world can manufacture or buy. This is hard proof that Jungkook's influence, and BTS's as a whole, has already moved far beyond the entertainment industry and into something much, much bigger. After the historic National Palace visit, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. On May 7th, 2026, BTS took the stage at GNP Seguros Stadium for the first of 3 consecutive sold-out nights. 50,000 fans packed the venue, singing, screaming, and crying together in one celebration they had been dreaming of for years. Billboard. And BTS did not come to play around. They arrived wearing Mexican-inspired outfits, cowboy hats, and t-shirts that read Ciudad de Mexico, a tribute that sent the crowd into absolute hysteria. V delivered messages in Spanish. Jungkook and Jimin also spoke in the local language. Even J-Hope, before the show, shared a video of himself wearing a cowboy hat with Tu Sancho by Fuerza Regida playing in the background. And the Mexican fans' response? They shouted, "Hobie, Hamano, you're already Mexican." Billboard. It was Jungkook who first took the microphone to welcome the crowd that night. "It's the first night here. Let's make it worth it," Jungkook told the audience, and the entire stadium erupted. Billboard. Simple, short, but loaded with power. That is Jungkook. He doesn't need long speeches or deeply moving monologues. One sentence is enough, and every single person in the room is already in the palm of his hand. The show opened with Hooligan and rolled through a setlist that kept fans singing non-stop from start to finish. Night after night, BTS led tens of thousands of people as one movement, one voice, one overwhelming feeling. The closing stretch brought Dynamite, Please, and Into the Sun, while RM wrapped up the night with Mexican Army Are Always the Most Passionate. Thanks to you, I was very happy today. Billboard. And that night, it wasn't only those inside the stadium who were celebrating. Outside GNP Seguros Stadium, thousands of fans who couldn't get tickets gathered on the surrounding streets, singing and dancing to the music and fireworks they could hear and see from far away. Billboard. That wasn't a concert. That was a citywide festival. In between their packed Mexico schedule, there was one more moment that went just as viral and was every bit as endearing. Jungkook, Jimin, Jin, and Suga were spotted attending a lucha libre wrestling match, sitting front row with Mexican wrestling masks on. Legendary wrestler Mystico proudly wore a BTS jacket with the members' names written on it as he stepped into the arena. Videos circulating on social media showed Mystico greeting each member one by one. GMA News Online. Jungkook in a Mexican wrestling mask. That single image alone was enough to keep social media timelines on fire for days. Because that is what makes Jungkook and BTS genuinely special. They don't just fly into a country, perform on stage, and leave. They truly show up. They experience the local culture, they honor it, and they celebrate it alongside the very people they've come to visit. And Mexico felt every bit of that. We need to be honest about one big question here. What exactly makes Jungkook different? BTS has 7 members, all of them extraordinarily talented. But there's something about Jungkook that consistently makes him the first name to go viral, the first to be searched, and the first to be talked about, even outside the K-pop community. First, authenticity that simply cannot be faked. Jungkook has a habit of turning fashion moments viral, not through excess, but by choosing to appear simpler than expected. Over the years, he has built a reputation for making even luxury fashion feel personal and effortless. Daily Hunt. People feel the difference between someone who is trying to look cool and someone who just is, and Jungkook falls firmly into the second category. Second, a human side that everyone can relate to. Running away from a microphone, hiding behind his friends, peeking at cameras with a childlike curiosity. These traits, which might seem perfectly ordinary, are exactly what makes tens of millions of people feel close to him. Because behind all the greatness he carries, a golden voice, a breathtaking presence, an extraordinary gift for performance, there is a person who still gets nervous, who still laughs at the silliest things, who still needs his friends to get through the big moments. And that is deeply human. Third, influence that crosses every boundary. When a K-pop idol can dominate Google Trends in a Latin American country, when a government minister posts his video on social media, when a country's president welcomes him with genuine warmth, that is no longer a fandom phenomenon. That is a global cultural phenomenon. Star News Korea. Jungkook stopped belonging just to ARMY a long time ago. He has become part of the world's conversation. BTS's visit to Mexico wasn't just an entertainment moment. It's part of something far greater. As part of the endearing World Tour, BTS will continue on to Colombia, Peru, Chile, Argentina, and Brazil in October. The tour is currently scheduled to wrap up in March 2027 in Manila, Philippines, a long and sweeping journey that will reach across nearly every continent on Earth. Billboard. And in every city they visit, Jungkook's name will once again be the first to trend. His face will be the most photographed. His moments will be the most viral. Not by chance, not by manufactured hype, but because there is something inside Jungkook that resonates with human beings no matter where they are, whether in Seoul, in Mexico City, in Jakarta, or in Buenos Aires. Sincerity, talent, and the courage to remain entirely himself, even when the whole world is watching. If you thought this video was just about Jungkook going viral in Mexico, you've already gotten half the message. But the other half is this: true popularity cannot be bought. It can only be earned one heart at a time. Jungkook never chose to become famous in Mexico. He never campaigned to dominate their Google trends. He simply showed up, fully authentically, and with all of his beautifully imperfect humanity on display. And Mexico, like millions of others around the world, saw that, felt that, and chose to love him for it. That's not K-pop magic. That's not a marketing strategy. That is real human connection. And as long as Jungkook keeps being exactly who he is, running from microphones, ditching his blazer whenever he feels like it, hiding behind his bandmates in the most important moments, he will keep proving one thing. The most powerful kind of fame isn't the kind you chase. It's the kind that finds you because you were brave enough to just be yourself. That's everything for today. The full story of how Jungkook BTS once again proved himself to be one of the most influential figures in global entertainment. If you love this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And tell me down in the comments, which Jungkook moment from Mexico made you smile the most. See you in the next one. Army, until next time.